Okay, let's dive right in.
Yeah.
We all know that feeling, don't we?
Yeah.
That core human challenge. Why is saying no just so incredibly hard
It
sometimes?
really is.
You get that request. Maybe somebody needs help moving, like all their furniture this weekend. And inside, you're just screaming, no, please, no. But what comes out is maybe a hesitant, let me check my calendar.
Yeah, that pause, right? That little moment of panic. That's exactly what we're getting into today. And the reason, well, it's almost always this fear, isn't it?
Fear of what, though?
Fear of being seen as rude, basically. Or maybe hurting someone's feelings. We're kind of wired to want to help, to cooperate.
Okay.
But our mission today is to give you, our listener, a kind of psychological toolkit. We want to equip you with the actual words, the language, to say no gracefully.
So setting healthy boundaries, but without, the guilt trip or wrecking the relationship.
Exactly. We've looked at a lot of advice out there and distilled it down to 10 really practical strategies you can use right away. 10 strategies. Okay. So this is about getting the vocabulary, the confidence to stop saying maybe when you really truly mean no.
Yeah, we're moving past just saying set boundaries. We're looking at the how. His specific tactical conversation moves that make a no stick, but importantly, land gently.
All right, where do we start? Let's begin with the first line of defense, I guess we could call it. It's all about softening the refusal, building that rapport, even while you're setting a limit. First up, lead with appreciation, okay? Lead with appreciation. That feels like an easy win, actually.
It often is.
Because when you start with gratitude, you set a kinder tone immediately, right? You're acknowledging their thought, their effort in asking you.
Precisely. It stops the no from feeling so abrupt or harsh. Showing you appreciate the invite or the request acts like a buffer.
So what's the key phrase? It's pretty simple, really. Just an opening before the actual refusal. Something like, thanks so much for thinking of me for this, but I truly can't commit this time. Okay, let's try it. Say a friend hits you up for a last-minute dinner on Friday. Instead of, scrambling for some complicated excuse, you just go with, thanks so much for the invite. I really appreciate you thinking of me, but I just can't make it this time. Polite, clear, shows you valued the thought first, and crucially, no need for a long story afterwards.
Exactly. Now, building on that, our second strategy is about showing good faith. Even in refusal, it's offering an alternative.
An alternative. Okay, why is that effective?
Well, the psychology here is quite important. You're essentially communicating that you're rejecting the timing or maybe the specifics of the request.
Not the person asking or the general idea.
Right. You're showing you still care, you still want to help or connect, just not in the way they initially asked.
I like that. It signals that the relationship matters, even if this particular commitment doesn't work for you. So, give me an example.
Okay, imagine a colleague asks, hey, can you spend an hour tonight coaching me on that new software? And tonight's your only free evening all week.
Right, you really need that downtime. So instead of just a flat no, you pivot. You use a phrase like, oh, I can't tonight, my evening is completely blocked out, but how about this? I'd be happy to sit down with you for, say, 30 minutes right before lunch tomorrow.
Okay, so you said no, clearly to tonight, but you offered something specific, actionable, and importantly on your terms. You controlled the rescheduled commitment.
Exactly. You maintain support, but you protect your own resources.
That's useful. But sometimes you just need a clean no, don't you? Especially when you're feeling totally swamped.
Absolutely. And that brings us to tactic number 3, one many of us use almost instinctively. Attribute the decline to an external constraint. Basically, blame the schedule. The classic, I'm too busy.
Well, yes, but framed politely. It's often seen as a believable external reason. By pointing to a packed schedule, you make the rejection feel less personal.
What's the phraseology there?
I'd genuinely love to help with that, but my capacity is just completely full right now. Or my schedule is absolutely packed.
Okay, but let me push back on that a little. If you always say your schedule is packed, even if you're just, prioritizing your own stuff, doesn't that start to make you look a bit unavailable? Maybe even flaky in the long run?
That's a really fair point. It's about how you use it and how often. You're not necessarily lying about being busy. You're confirming your current priorities lie elsewhere.
So it's about framing.
Right. When used appropriately, say, declining a request to join a big weekend project meeting with, oh, I'd love to contribute, but my schedule is just packed with prior commitments right now. It reinforces that your time is valuable and already allocated.
Okay.
The key is sincerity and maybe context. If you use it repeatedly to dodge the same person or type of request, Yeah, you might create distance, so you choose these softer refusals strategically.
Understood. So it's about polite boundary setting, not building a reputation for being constantly, like, frantic and unreachable.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Section 2 moves into establishing clearer, more confident boundaries. These are the tactics for when you need a firmer line, maybe one that doesn't invite negotiation.
Right, less wiggle room. This sounds like where it gets a bit tougher for people pleasers. It can be, but it's so necessary sometimes. Which leads us to tip number 4. Use a firm, non-explanatory decline. Okay, a power move, as you called it earlier.
Kind of, yeah. It needs to be short, strong, but still polite. The goal is maximum respect, but minimal explanation.
Why minimal explanation? Isn't explaining polite?
Not always. The moment you start over-explaining why you can't do something, you actually create an opening for the other person to argue, or worse, try to fix your reason.
Oh, right. Like, oh, if it's the traffic keeping you from the party, I can pick you up.
Yeah.
Exactly. You inadvertently invite problem solving. So this firm decline shuts that down instantly. The key phrase is direct but respectful. I appreciate you asking, but that's just not possible for me right now.
Mm.
That's not possible for me right now. Wow, that feels quite definitive.
It is.
How about using it in those awkward money situations? Someone asks, hey, can I borrow $200 till payday? Perfect scenario. You can respond almost immediately, calmly. I'm sorry, that's just not possible for me right now. Respectful, but it's a clear boundary, a full stop. No room for negotiation there.
And remember, often silence after that clear no is your ally. Don't feel the need to fill it. But sometimes, providing a very brief, clear reason can actually strengthen your no. That's our 5th strategy.
Okay, so wait. You just said no explanation. Now you're saying a brief reason can be good. When do you choose which?
Good question. A brief reason works well when it aligns with a value or a prior commitment that most people would recognize as, well, valid or non-negotiable. It makes your boundary seem less arbitrary, maybe.
Okay, give me an example. So the structure is something like, I'm sorry I can't because short, concrete, often pre-existing commitment. Like, if your boss asks you to stay 3 hours late unexpectedly, yes, you could say, I'm sorry I can't stay that late tonight because I promised my kids I'd pick them up from daycare by 6. Ah, okay. That's a simple, clear, pre-existing commitment. Hard to argue with that.
Exactly. It makes your boundary feel solid and understandable, even if the person asking is disappointed. It's not just a vague, I can't. Okay, this next one sounds really interesting, maybe even transformative. You mentioned it's a deep insight from the research. Tip 6, shifting from I can't to the stronger I don't.
Yeah.
Yes, this is probably the most powerful psychological tool in the whole toolkit, I think.
Why is I don't so much stronger than I can't?
Well, think about it. When you say I can't, it often implies a lack of capacity or a temporary obstacle. It kind of suggests that if things were different, if your schedule changed, maybe you would say yes.
Right. It feels circumstantial.
Exactly. But when you say I don't, you're framing the refusal differently. It's not about current ability. It's about a personal rule, an established boundary, maybe even part of your lifestyle or values.
So it becomes more of an identity statement, less about a calendar clash, more about this is who I am or this is how I operate.
Precisely. You're appealing to something internal, almost constitutional. It's much harder for people to argue with your established personal standards than with your temporary availability.
Okay, examples, please. This feels like a big one.
Okay. If you're trying to manage your health, you don't say, oh, I can't have dessert late tonight. That sounds like deprivation, right?
Yeah, like you wish you could. Instead, you say, oh, thanks, but I don't eat heavy food that late. Or if someone asks you to check work emails constantly on weekends, instead of, I can't check this weekend, I'm busy, you might establish, thanks for the heads up, but I don't check emails on weekends to ensure I recharge properly. Wow, I don't check emails on weekends. That sets a very clear expectation for the future, too, not just this one time.
That's the power. It shifts the frame from a reactive boundary for this single request to a proactive statement about how you manage your life and energy. It sounds fixed, less negotiable.
That's a really powerful internal shift, too, I imagine, framing it as personal integrity, not just making an excuse.
It absolutely is. Okay, ready for the final section. Section 3 is about tactical declines and really achieving finality when needed. Let's do it. We often feel this pressure, don't we, to give an answer immediately. Tip 7 sounds like it addresses that. Implement a polite delay. Yes, this is crucial, especially for requests that are, bigger, more complex, or have longer-term implications. You use the delay tactic when you genuinely need time.
Time to check your schedule, or just time to think.
Both. Time to check commitments, assess your energy levels, weigh the pros and cons, Or, and this is key time to figure out how to phrase a polite, guilt-free refusal later on if needed.
It buys you breathing room, critical breathing room sometimes. So, someone asks you to join a new committee or take on a big volunteer project. Instead of saying yes or no on the spot, you use a key phrase like, wow, that sounds like an interesting, opportunity, important project. Let me take a look at my existing commitments and really assess the time involved. Can I get back to you by, say, end of day tomorrow?
Okay, I like that. It's not just a vague, I'll get back to you. You gave a specific time frame, which shows respect for their request. Exactly. And then you use that time. If the answer is no, you can craft a clear refusal using one of the other techniques, maybe the I don't rule, or simply state your capacity is full, and the follow-up can be clean. Thanks again for asking. I've checked my calendar and commitments, and unfortunately, I realize I'm unable to add anything else to my plate right now. Clear, concise, no unnecessary guilt. Perfect. Next up, tip 8 is another great one for maintaining the relationship. Lead with a compliment.
Okay, how's this different from leading with gratitude?
It's similar in softening the blow, but this focuses more on acknowledging the merit or appeal of the thing being offered before you decline your participation in it.
Ah, so you're validating the idea itself, even if you can't join in. Precisely. It manages potential disappointment by showing genuine appreciation or enthusiasm for the offer before you say no to the commitment part. The key phrase structure is something like, wow, that sounds amazing, really fun, so interesting, but I just can't take it on right now.
Hmm.
Okay, so if someone invites you to, I don't know, a weekend-long, intensive basket weaving workshop, you could say, wow, learning basket weaving sounds genuinely fascinating. What a cool skill. But unfortunately, I really can't fit a full weekend workshop in right now. You affirmed their idea, showed you get why it's cool before declining. Protects the rapport. Makes sense. And sometimes, sometimes things just get a bit tense and we need to lighten the mood, right? Tip 9. Inject humor.
Yes. Humor is such a vital social lubricant, isn't it? It can instantly diffuse tension and make a no feel much less heavy or personal.
It's like a deflection shield.
Totally. It works particularly well in more casual settings or for lower stakes requests.
I remember a friend who was trying to cut back on sweets. When offered a second huge slice of cake, instead of just saying no thanks, he grinned and said, oh man, I wish. But honestly, if I eat any more sugar today, my dentist might actually put out a restraining order.
That's perfect. It's exaggerated. It's relatable. It takes the focus off the simple act of refusal and puts it onto a shared, lighthearted absurdity. Everyone saves face.
Okay, we're almost through the toolkit. We arrive at the final strategy. Tip 10. This sounds like the last resort. For when things need to be absolutely crystal clear. Exactly. This is for situations where maybe you've tried a softer no or you anticipate pushback and you need a polite but completely unambiguous final refusal, one that leaves zero room for further discussion or negotiation. We call it the clear final boundary. So what's the magic phrase here? It needs to be polite, clear, and unmistakably firm. The wording is often something like, I sincerely appreciate you asking me again, but I have to say no to this. I have to say no. That phrasing feels important.
It is. It frames the decision not just as a choice, but as a necessity. A non-negotiable requirement driven by your own limits, well-being, or existing commitments. It implies it's out of your hands, in a way.
Right. It subtly signals that arguing is futile because it's a personal necessity, not just a preference.
Precisely. It's the polite but firm end of the discussion. So by mastering these 10 different approaches, you really ensure that saying no isn't about creating conflict. It's actually about creating clarity.
That's a great way to put it. Clarity over conflict.
Okay.
So if you, our listener, take just one thing away from this deep dive today, what should it be? I think it's this. Fundamentally, saying no is not about being mean or selfish. It's actually an act of self-respect.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that your time, your energy, your focus, they're finite resources. And you have the right to protect them.
Absolutely. A polite no is still a kind no. And honestly, clear boundaries are the bedrock of healthy, sustainable relationships, both personally and professionally.
It's so true. We covered a lot today, that whole toolkit.
We did. Let's quickly recap the categories.
Oh.
Starting with gratitude, offering an alternative, blaming the schedule, then the firmer ones, the non-explanatory decline, giving a brief, valid reason, and that powerful shift to I don't.
Right. And the tactical moves, the polite delay, leading with a compliment, using humor, and finally that clear, final boundary phrase, I have to say no.
That's the set. 10 tools for your boundary setting belt.
Okay, so here's a little challenge for you, the listener, as we wrap up. Think about a request you might get this week, or maybe one you're already kind of dreading. Could be an invitation, could be an extra task at work.
Yeah.
Which one of these 10 phrases or strategies feels like it could fit? Maybe it's trying out the I don't rule for something you consistently want to avoid, or perhaps just practicing the polite delay to give yourself thinking time.
Just pick one. Mentally rehearse it. Practice really does build confidence here. Start small, apply one of these tools next time you need it, and just notice. Notice how that anxiety might lessen when you calmly protect your time.
Yeah, you really do have the vocabulary now to stop carrying every single metaphorical sofa that someone tries to leave on your doorstep.
A great image to end on.
Thanks for diving deep with us today on the art of saying no.
It was a pleasure. We'll see you next time.